We're already going into week 3 of college football. It's crazy. Week 3, here we come. And there's some really good games that we're going to see this weekend that, believe it or not, last weekend, South Florida, it's you know what I'm talking about. It sets up a more interesting game for this coming week. And then some games that are just, it's just, we've been waiting on these games. First, welcome to another college football podcast. If you love college football, hey, I hope you'll subscribe and I hope you'll pass it along. This is a brand new channel and I really do appreciate it. So let's dive into it. So this past weekend, we had Florida losing to South Florida in the Swamp. Now, South Florida is coming right off that game, and they had a few extra days to prepare, but they beat the crap out of Boise State, a team that was in the college football playoff. Yes, they lost Ashton Jeanty. I don't know the complete turnover of their team, but they were ranked. And guess what happened? South Florida not only beat them, they beat the crap out of them. And then they go into Florida, and everyone is looking at this game going, I don't know. Now, I have the receipts. I said last week that I could see South Florida going into this game and winning it. I didn't guarantee it. I'm not going to say that. But I said this has upset written all over it. Of course, they held on. They won the ball game. I don't know that that was as much of an upset as a lot of people was thinking that it is. Now, if we're talking about the historical records and the traditions of both teams, obviously Florida has a very storied history, national championships, the SEC dominance during different times. It's crazy. So yes, on paper, South Florida beating Florida is a massive upset. At the same time, I just can't say that Florida is top notch, but they're not bad. And then South Florida, they're not terrible. They got a good thing going down there. And so I don't think that in present day, this is as much of an upset as a lot of people would like to make it. But South Florida is looking much improved. And shout out to their coaching staff for making that happen because, well, you can see the difference. You can see they're 2-0, y'all. South Florida is 2-0. And a lot of people didn't see that coming. And guess what that sets up? That sets up a battle this week with the University of Miami. Is that crazy or what? Here they are coming right off of this into playing University of Miami. So let's dive into South Florida at Miami. 4:30 on the CW. And right now, Miami is a 15.5 point favorite coming into this game. Both teams are 2-0. South Florida is ranked number 18. Miami's ranked number 5. And Miami started off the season with Notre Dame. They just played, I believe, Bethune-Cookman. Beat the crap out of them. But South Florida, across the board, I would say that they've had just as tough, if not I would go ahead and say they've had a tougher road because at least Miami played Bethune-Cookman. South Florida just played Florida in the Swamp and played Boise State. So they've had a tougher road, what little bit it is, of a 2-0 record versus the Miami Hurricanes. Now, we know that this is going to be in Hard Rock Stadium. It's a home game for Miami. I do that because there's so many people who has mixed feelings about where they play their home games and so on. But it's a home game. I'll leave that out, okay? Carson Beck, when he is on, is one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. You may not like him. Maybe you have your feelings about him last year with Georgia. But when Carson Beck is on, no matter what or why any of us think what we think, the guy can play football. No matter what you say on Instagram about his off the field issues in the off season of a girlfriend and breaking up and all that. But folks, when Carson Beck lines up against you, you better be on point because this guy can play. And now they're coming into this game, a game that they're talking about Miami. They're a 15.5-point favorite, and they're playing a team that I don't think that 15.5 points really is fair to them. And to me, that puts pressure on Miami. Miami comes into the game going, yeah, we're supposed to win this by at least 2 touchdowns, basically. But that team over there is not a 2-touchdown deficit team. Well, South Florida's not been this and hasn't been that for a while. Okay, let's talk about today. I mean, Byron Brown comes into this game 39 of 60 for 473 yards. Carson Beck has 472 yards passing. I mean, Keshawn Singleton has 168 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. These guys can play. What this is going to come down to is if South Florida if they will not allow their emotions to get too high. They come into this game and they treat it like they treated Florida. That is the key. Treat this game like you treated Boise State. Yes, Miami's better than Boise State. But before that game, Boise State was the clear favorite, without a doubt. Go into that Florida game. I said it was an upset waiting to happen. South Florida held on, won the ball game, drove the ball down the field, by the way. That was a long drive. And hit the game-winning field goal, basically a PAT. If they come into this game against Miami and they treat it like that, and by the way, they have the coaching. Their head coach can coach. That guy knows what he's doing. And I just think this is going to be a lot closer game than 2 touchdowns. Now, I'm going to tell you what my pick for this game. I would like to see South Florida win this game. I think it would be funny. I think it would turn the college football world upside down when it comes to their view of a team like South Florida versus the historical powerhouses of, the state of Florida. I think it would be funny. It would be 3 ranked teams in a row that you've beat. And it's just kind of funny. But I am going to tell you this, folks. I think that Miami is going to get them on this one. I think, and by the way, South Florida could win this football game. South Florida can win this game. Golesh can coach. I've said it once or twice. And if you've watched my other channel talking about Clemson football, you know I'm very, very big on actually coaching. Coaching means something. University of Alabama is finding that out pretty quick. University of Florida had to find that out after Urban Meyer. I know you're making your Urban Meyer jokes. Yeah, until you had to play him, and he most likely beat the crap out of you. And then you had to start digging at some personal flaw you don't like about the guy. But when he showed up to do what he was hired to do, he won way more times than not. And so Golesh can coach. He's a younger coach that is just making waves. And I believe he can make waves, pun intended, against the Hurricanes. They could win this game. But for some reason, my gut, and I try to go with my gut as much as possible, my gut feels like Miami's not going to be caught off guard. Beating Florida, probably South Florida beating Florida, I think it made Miami sit up and go, whoa, hold up. They did what? Where? It wasn't a neutral site game? Oh, it wasn't a Bulls home game? Nope. Okay, all right. We can't overlook them now. We can't take them lightly. And I think Miami pulls this game out. Again, I believe South Florida could win this game. I really do. I just think that Miami is waiting on them. They are waiting on them. They know what is coming for them. They know what they're capable of because they just did it. Now, the only thing that I would turn around and give myself an out on is that Miami's next game is Florida. Maybe South Florida catches Miami with their eyes on Florida, and then after that, at Florida State, a much improved team. Maybe so. Maybe that would be the difference. But I feel like Miami's going to win this ball game. So that will be, again, that is a really interesting game. That will be this Saturday, 4:30 on the CW network. So pass this video along to all your Florida Gator friends and, of course, South Florida Bulls. And then for you Miami Hurricanes, pass it along to them as well. I don't even know why I led off with the Florida Gators. But either way, pass the video along to South Florida fans and Miami fans and let them know I'm talking about their team. So this week, in week 2, we have some more games to kind of pay attention to, and it's really interesting. Last weekend, you had some fun games, but you had mostly cupcake games. But this game probably takes the cake as far as having a lot of people with a lot of eyes on it. So we're talking about Georgia at Tennessee this Saturday, September the 13th, 3:30 on ABC. Yes, I'm still getting used to the whole ABC and not CBS thing. I mean, I can hear Vern laughing right now. Anyway, both teams are 2-0. Both teams just played a not-so-good team. Tennessee won commandingly over East Tennessee State. Georgia played, was it Austin Peay? That's how invested I am in that. Yeah, Austin Peay, they won 28-6. And it's really tough for a team to get up for a not-so-good game, a not-so-tough team. But a game like Georgia at Tennessee, all right, that's different. Georgia comes into this game as a 7-point favorite. Now, and how I look at things, if you go below 7 points, especially below 5, it's like this is anyone's game. They're just giving a slight edge here. 7 points says that there's a firm belief that Georgia will most likely win the game, but it would not be considered an upset if Tennessee pulled it out. Let's talk about both of these teams. Both teams are led by first-year quarterbacks at their school. Joey Aguilar, you got him. You got that guy out of Appalachian State, played a while there. You got him, 535 yards passing on the season, 5 touchdowns. You got Gunnar Stockton, the guy out of the mountains of northeast Georgia up there around Rabun County. It's Rabun, not Rayburn. Rabun County, 417 yards passing. And this is both of these teams' first real test. I know that Tennessee started off with Syracuse. Syracuse lost a lot of players from last season, from a team at went 10-3, Fran Brown's first year. But this is the first real test right here. Now, I will tell you this. I've heard from some Georgia fans, they're not happy right now that they only beat Austin Peay, 28-6, something like that. They've commented on other videos of mine, and they're like, look, we're not impressed. But folks, this Saturday will be a telltale day for both schools, hands down. Tennessee returns a lot of the talent on their defense. Arian Carter, Dominic Bailey, Lou Carter, Jermod McCoy. And this is a home game. This is a chance for Josh Heupel to take out Georgia. He's beat Alabama, but I don't think he's beat Georgia. I'd have to go look and see. I don't think he has. In fact, I'm going to do that live right now. How about that? I'm going to look at this. I don't believe that he's beat Georgia, but this would give him the chance of a lifetime to go ahead and knock them off at home. Let's see. Lost to Georgia, lost to Georgia, lost to Georgia, lost to Georgia, lost to Georgia. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. One of those years, I think, was what's his face that I just read off. I can't remember. Here's my point. Josh Heupel's done a lot, but beating Georgia, whether this is the best Georgia team they've had in quite a while or not, this would be big for Tennessee. And the pressure is on Georgia because they're going into a Knoxville environment that, yes, is going to be crazy. Yes, people are excited, but they're still Georgia. Like, that means something. That means something in college football. I'm a Clemson fan, and you know it. If you don't know it, I'm a big Clemson fan. But even I know about Georgia and where they're at in the college football landscape. And you have Kirby on the sidelines. This guy's won 2 national championships. They have to be impressive this year, right? I mean, right? And when I see this 7-point deficit, I'm just, to me, it's still giving a lot of credit to Georgia going into the hostile environment of Knoxville. I think that Kirby Smart and the boys pulls it out. I think they pull it out less than a touchdown. I think Georgia wins this ball game. And if they don't, let's talk about if they don't. If they don't win this ball game, I'm not ready to crown Tennessee as the front runner for the SEC. I'm not ready to do that. I mean, they'd still have to play Bama, Oklahoma. Don't forget about Arkansas, Florida. That's always a tricky game. But if they could get this, win, Tennessee could get this win, it would set them up very well for a college football playoff appearance, whether they win the conference or not. But I just think that Georgia is going to be a little too much in this game. And that's how I see it. We will see if Georgia actually goes in and beats them. I think they will this coming Saturday. On slate for this coming weekend, a few more games that we have that's just grabbing my attention. Let's talk about Wisconsin at Alabama. Alabama, we know what happened with them. They got demolished by Florida State in week 1. Then they just went and beat, I think it was UL Monroe 73-0. Okay. And yeah, it was UL Monroe, but they could have been upset. I mean, Alabama could have been upset if they really got down in a bad place. We saw what happened to Florida State last year. You could be sitting there going, holy crap, they just lost to UL Monroe. Is this Florida State 2.0? But they didn't. They went out and they won 73-0. And now they're playing a Wisconsin team that's 2-0. But you just have to ask yourself, what's going on? What's going on up there? I don't see the dominance out of Wisconsin like I used to see. I mean, when I think about Wisconsin, I think about Barry Alvarez. I think about Ron Dane. I think about guys like Melvin Gordon. You know what I'm saying? I'm not thinking about what we're watching today. And I think that probably if you spoke with Luke Fickell, he probably thought he would have more success so far as well. Now, let's look at this. Wisconsin, here's the games they played so far. They're 2-0. They won 17-0 over Miami of Ohio. And they won 42-10 over Middle Tennessee State University. Alabama is a 20.5-point favorite. This game will be played in Tuscaloosa this Saturday, September the 13th, 12 o'clock on ABC. And Wisconsin's going to play up for this. I don't believe that Wisconsin is looking at Alabama and seeing that they lost to Florida State. They're seeing Alabama. The Tide still has a lot of talent, a ton of talent. Some of that team still has Nick Saban's DNA in it. He's not too far removed to where the influence is not still there, though the approach is different. Ty Simpson, he has 480 passing yards this year. He's 40 of 65 touchdowns. Then on the other side, you have Danny O'Neal, 35 of 46, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The rushing yards for both teams is nothing to be blown away by. Alabama's leading rusher only has 100 yards. Wisconsin, only 109 rushing yards. That's their leading running back, Dylan Jones. What does this come down to? This comes down to, I believe, the talent of Alabama, but the shock of Alabama. The shock of week 1 is still with them. Kalen DeBoer went out and destroyed a small team this past week that doesn't cover for the lackluster game 1 where they got brutalized, nor, and you got to remember, for Tuscaloosa, Alabama, not winning 10 games last year was a big deal. Not making the college football playoff, that was a big deal. I see Alabama dominating this football game. I just don't see the brutality of Wisconsin anymore. I just don't see the Badgers being aggressive anymore. I don't see the brutality that wins ball games like you used to see. And I just pretty much think those days are over for them. I think Alabama is laser focused. They're embarrassed. Their fans are calling for the head of Kalen DeBoer. They're at Georgia in 2 weeks. So here's the thing. They play Wisconsin this Saturday. They're off on the 20th. And then on the 27th, they play at Georgia, 7:30 at night on ABC. So sure, Wisconsin could catch them looking ahead. I don't think that they will. I think DeBoer realizes I can't have another game. So I see Alabama winning this game. I see them attacking Wisconsin offensively and defensively, and I see their offense getting rolling a lot more than what we saw the last time they played a decent team. And I think that they'll definitely take care of the Badgers. I pick Alabama to beat Wisconsin. While we look through this weekend, we have some interesting games that maybe is not so interesting to you. One thing that's really interesting to me right now is that Illinois is in the top 10. Now, Illinois is a much improved football team under Brett Bielema. But number 9, I don't see that. Top 20, yes. Top 20, definitely. But top 10, I really don't see that. They have an easier week this week. They're playing Western Michigan and Champaign. Luke Altmaier's already thrown for 513 and 6 touchdowns. They just got finished beating Duke by double digits, I think about 20 points or so. So look for them to keep slowly gaining some steam. They can make some noise. They could definitely make some noise in the Big Ten and in college football as a whole. Saturday night at 7:30 on ABC, the Florida Gators travel to Baton Rouge. This is going to be a massive game. It has a lot of implications on paper. You look on paper, it's like a milestone game. But Florida's coming off the loss to South Florida. Now, I don't believe that was a massive upset. Historically, yes, but in current talent, South Florida, very talented, goalish, can coach. So this is not like some like Appalachian State going to Michigan and beating them. It's not of that magnitude, but yes, it was an upset. So here's Florida coming off of that, leaving home where they were just upset in the intimidating Swamp, and now you're going to the Bayou against LSU. Now, LSU started off the season going to Clemson, winning by 7 points. Their first win in a season opener in years. They had 5 consecutive years of season opening losses. And they go to Clemson and beat Clemson at night. Clemson, well, until recently, they don't lose at night at home. LSU just did it. Beat them by 7 points. And LSU just went out and played La Tech. And let me tell you this, it was not a runaway win. They beat Louisiana Tech 23-7. And maybe they were holding back because, well, they knew they were going to be playing Florida. There's no reason to show a massive playbook to La Tech. Now, the quarterbacks for both of these teams, they're returning quarterbacks. I know Lagway didn't start all last season, but he ended up taking over. He was the man. We knew he was the man coming into this season, and he's traveling to Baton Rouge, coming off this loss to South Florida. He's thrown for 342 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. His counterpart, Garrett Nussmeier, a guy very experienced, stayed at LSU, sat behind people, waited his time. 54 of 79, 469 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Both running backs have seen almost 30 carries. Jaden Baugh, the running back from Florida, has 27 carries for 197 yards. Caden Durham, on the other hand, has 30 carries for 103 yards. Now, LSU's brought in a lot of people from the portal. You have Barrion Brown from Kentucky. The guy can play. He's fast. He can catch. You swing over to the defense, you're looking at guys like Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks. I mean, they have the talent in this game. I'm just having a hard time imagining Florida going into LSU and not at least having something to prove. Like, you just lost a non-conference game. You have the toughest schedule in America, hands down. And this is one of the games that I think that you could actually win. You're unranked. I think LSU is overranked. I don't think they're a bad football team, folks. But I think number 3, I could buy into number 3 being the legitimate ranking of LSU if this was like week 7. Clemson struggled this past weekend with Troy. And LSU only won by 7 points against Clemson. I believe Florida's offense is going to put up more of a fight against LSU in Baton Rouge than Clemson did at home. If you look at the spread, Vegas isn't They're not buying into the number 3 ranking. They're not buying into Florida as a bad football team that got beat by a mediocre South Florida team. No. They have LSU as only a 6.5-point favorite at home. Go think about that. With all that talent on offense, Aaron Anderson, the leading receiver for LSU with 172 yards. The guy can play. That big tight end, 6'7", all that. Harold Perkins, Weeks. They're still saying, Vegas still believes that LSU is only a 6.5-point favorite at home over Florida. What does that mean to me? That means I truly do believe Florida is going to come out and play them outrageously well. I could see Florida taking this game down to the wire. But I think they're a little shell-shocked right now. I think the Gators, they don't know what to believe. They don't know what to feel. They don't know what to think. And their schedule really doesn't let up all season. I mean, they play LSU here, and then they're going to play Miami on the 20th. After they play Miami, they got to play Texas. They have to play Texas A&M. They got to get Mississippi State. Mississippi State's looking like they're improved, y'all. I didn't say they're the best team in the SEC. They're improved. You got Georgia. You got Kentucky. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State. Florida State doesn't look like a bunch of losers now. Florida has a task ahead of them. But the key for them is to take it one game at a time. I'm just thinking Baton Rouge is just going to be too much for the Gators. I see LSU getting out of this game in a close game with a slight victory. I say slight. It will be a victory, but I don't think it's going to be overwhelming against Florida, but it will be enough to get the W and move them to 3-0. I see LSU beating Florida. Last year, Texas A&M and Notre Dame got together in College Station. Mike Elko coaching his very first game as the head coach at Texas A&M. And it was an incredible game. But this year, A&M travels to Notre Dame, 7:30 this Saturday night on NBC. Notre Dame, they're 0-1. They didn't play this past weekend. They were off, but they lost to Miami last Sunday. Or Sunday before last, excuse me. And so the question is exactly how good is Texas A&M and exactly how good is Notre Dame? There's a lot of questions to be answered here because, I mean, let's look at Notre Dame. They lost to Miami. Now, I don't think that Miami is just this overwhelming football team, but I think they're solid. Still have a lot to prove. They still have a lot of football to play. Everyone has a lot of football to play. But Notre Dame replacing Riley Leonard. They got C.J. Carr coming in, the grandson of Lloyd Carr, former Michigan head coach. And in that game, he was 19 of 30 against Miami, 221 yards. On the other side, you have Marcel Reed with 509 yards passing and 7 touchdowns. But who did he do that against? You have UTSA. They beat 42-24. They beat Utah State 44-22. Now, the first thing I raise my eyebrows at is that Texas A&M has given up over 20 points to two teams that I think they probably shouldn't have given up 10. That's week 1. That's week 2. They knew that they had to play Notre Dame. They knew that they were going to have to go play Auburn and Florida, and a much improved Mississippi State team, LSU, Missouri, South Carolina obviously finish at Texas at the end of the year. There's no reason to prove their dominance as long as they're not close to being upset over a team like, Utah State. You have Jeremiah Love as the running back for Notre Dame. But there's questions on the effectiveness of Notre Dame's offense aside from Jeremiah Love. And so as I'm looking at this, my biggest question is, how good are both teams? Really, how good are both teams? Because I just, it's kind of hard to tell. You see it, the A&M name, you see the Notre Dame name, and it's just easy to kind of buy into this being a bigger game than what it is. I don't think either football team is bad. Let me go ahead and say that. But I would venture to say, obviously, this is not even venturing. Notre Dame was way better last year than what they are this year. I'm not saying they're bad. A&M, this is Elko's second season. There's still questions to be answered there. Notre Dame has a 6.5-point favorite. They are a 6.5-point favorite. But there is something about Texas A&M that I just feel like Mike Elko is going to pull this one out. And I just think he gets it done against his former employer in South Bend. I think they're going to have a little more. I just have this feeling they're going to have a little more going for them. Offensively, Marcel Reed can run the football when he needs to. He's their leading rusher at this point of the season. And he's passing. And so I'm just seeing A&M being a little too much. I see A&M going to South Bend and taking out the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in a pretty good game. Maybe historically on paper, but maybe not as of an elite game or a historic game as we would consider it being. I see A&M getting it done. We have a few more games to look at. I think that obviously Clemson and Georgia Tech, I'll do the preview of Clemson and Georgia Tech on my channel, my Clemson channel, just focusing on the Tigers itself. I will tell you this, after seeing how the offense sputtered. Okay, sputtered means it's moving forward. I mean, you can sputter and still move forward. In the first half of the Clemson-Troy game, it looked terrible. I'm really concerned that if they do any of that against Georgia Tech, what Haynes King and the boys may do to them. Even the defense had a slow start in the first half. They ended up being one of the main reasons of turning it around in the second half, and then Clemson's play calling opened up suspiciously in the third quarter, scored really fast, and then suddenly it goes back to, sputtering. So that will be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. Of course, I'll be doing my preview over there on my Clemson channel. So keep an eye out for that one. The last game I'm going to preview, we have Vanderbilt going to Columbia, South Carolina, 7:45 Saturday night on the SEC network. Vanderbilt and what they did last year was a pretty big deal for them. They beat Alabama. They almost beat Texas. That was interesting. I don't want to even say folklore, but it's just everything that Diego Pavia has done since he's been there has been really interesting. It's been entertaining, especially since I'm not a Vanderbilt fan. It's fun to watch. If you love college football, you love watching stories like these. And they're going into a South Carolina stadium that features one of the most physical running or physical quarterbacks in all of college football. Physical, and what I meant to say there was physical running quarterbacks in college football. They have one of the fastest players in college football playing for them, Nick Harbor. The guy's huge. He's 6'5". He's their leading receiver. But there are questions on both sides of the football. Now, let me tell you this. If you're sitting there going, hold on, this South Carolina team, I was told in the preseason that this South Carolina team was going to make a run to the college football playoff. And Sellers is very talented. Dylan Stewart, the incredible defensive player for South Carolina. He already has 2 sacks on the season. This guy is unbelievable and not taken away from him whatsoever. But this team lost a lot of experienced talent on the defensive side of the football. And it's a who's who of last year's South Carolina football team. And a lot of Gamecocks would just say, I'm being a Clemson Tiger. Sure, maybe. But I can read a roster. I can read a roster and realize that you lost a lot of guys that were like big-time problems to other teams, including my Clemson team. And I even throw up a little bit in my mouth bringing that up. But what does Vegas think? Well, South Carolina is only a 5.5-point favorite in Columbia over a Vanderbilt team that still last year for Vanderbilt, it was a really good season. But, I mean, it wasn't like they were 10-2 and made it to the college football playoff. Vegas sees something. Vegas can feel, or let me rephrase this. Vegas is acknowledging the questions in the defense. I mean, think about this. Vanderbilt just played the team that South Carolina just played. They played Virginia Tech. Now, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to call myself out before I even go here. It's very dangerous to start saying because we beat this team by more points than you, that means we'll beat you by X amount of points. It's a very dangerous game. It is just something to lightly consider, just to chill out for a moment and, not get too red-faced and have a heart attack over. Vanderbilt just beat Virginia Tech 44-20. Okay? Virginia Tech actually played quite well with South Carolina in the very first game of the year, just a few weeks ago. Not even a few weeks ago. South Carolina beat that same Virginia Tech team 24-11. Virginia Tech actually threw the ball on them. And they could throw. But now it's these two teams head to head. Again, you have to be careful, Sam, because y'all only beat that team by this amount of points. We played the same team, beat them by more. That means we're going to beat you. That can be a very dangerous game. It's just something to consider. South Carolina at home is only a 5.5-point favorite. Now, my approach to spreads is when you get under 7 points and you get further down or away from that 7 point, you're basically saying anyone's game. If this game were in Nashville, would Vanderbilt be favored? And before you say no because you love your Gamecocks, you're only a 5.5-point favorite at home. It doesn't make sense. I'm kind of shocked at this. Vanderbilt can be a problem. They can definitely be a problem. But I see LaNorris Sellers running the ball nonstop. I think that's how this game will be won. I think that Vanderbilt is going to try to shut down the pass and make him run, when in fact what I would do is try to shut down the run and make him pass. We will see. And if you try to play anywhere in between, he will hit Nick Harbor on a long pass. He will body up the DB or safety that's covered him. or the cornerback or the safety that's covering him, and he'll probably win that at 6'5" and Olympic speed. The way that Vanderbilt could win this game is to try to take the run away from Sellers and actually be mostly successful. That would be how they win. As much as I hate to do this as a Clemson fan, I do see South Carolina winning this game over Vanderbilt at home at night, but it is not out of the realm of possibility of Vandy winning this game. It's really a toss-up, but I'll go Gamecocks because, well, it's at home. All right, we'll quickly go through a few games that will be featured this weekend. Maybe you want to keep an eye on. Maybe you could care less. Arkansas and Ole Miss get together. Both teams are undefeated. Ole Miss struggled with Kentucky yet another year. Now, at least they didn't lose. They went to Kentucky. They won. Kentucky lost a lot of talent to the transfer portal. Lane was mad that Clemson got into the college football playoff, and meanwhile, he loses to Kentucky last year, and he almost lost again. You're going in to play Arkansas. Now, this game will be in Oxford, 7 o'clock Saturday night. You can watch it on ESPN. Ole Miss is an 8.5-point favorite at home against Arkansas. Let's talk a little bit about Arkansas. So far, they really haven't played anyone. We really don't know what they're like. I mean, the one thing that I can say is they've beat bad teams bad. Alabama A&M, Arkansas State. They've put up over 50 points on both of them. Defensively, they've only allowed 21 points for the season, 7 and 14 in the respective games. And you know what Lane is going to do coming into this game. He has the incredible Austin Simmons, a very talented guy. He's thrown for 576 yards. Here's the problem that sticks out to me, and I'm going to get to Taylon Green in a moment. He's thrown 4 interceptions. They're 2-0. I did not see whether they were tipped balls or whatever, because it's still an interception, but it does mean something. If it hit his wide receiver's hands and they had pudding for hands, it went through their hands and it was an interception. But 4 interceptions already in 2 games kind of bothers me, because that's an average of 2 per game. On the other side, you have Taylon Green, 41 of 57, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yes, they've played no one, but they've beat them bad. And what are you supposed to do to bad teams? You don't supposed to have to open up the playbook on them and get creative to beat them like you would a really good football team. What you're supposed to do is be able to line up, take your talent, dominate them, take their hope away, remove any idea that they could potentially upset you, and then beat them handily and then walk away. Well, that's what Arkansas has done up to this point. I would kind of like to see what the spread would be if this game was in Arkansas. But it's not. Ole Miss, 8.5-point favorite. I'm going to go ahead and circle this one and say, don't be surprised if Arkansas wins this game against Ole Miss. And in fact, I want to pick Arkansas. I want to pick Arkansas to win. I'm hesitating on it. I'm just going to put it this way. I would not be shocked if they won. I'm going to go Ole Miss at home, winning against Arkansas, but this is a game to keep your eye on, because Arkansas could definitely walk out of there with the W, probably more than any other game I've seen so far. All right, I'm going to get into the comments section. See who's in here. Happy to see your face. Good to see you, dude. I know exactly who that is. I think you just text me. Hold on one second. You did just text me. Yes. Yes, absolutely. There we go. Good to see you, my man. Is Dabo throwing games? Bloody Knuckles, I don't think so. I just think that I don't know what to think. But go watch my video I did today on who's calling the plays. If you didn't see that, by the way, folks, if you have not seen my video I put out today where I asked the question in a nice way, who is calling the plays for Clemson? And you know what I'm talking about, offense. After that third quarter yesterday, I'm going to tell you, you need to go watch it. At least watch the first. It's a 40-minute long video, and a lot of that's because I went to the comments section. Go watch the first 15 minutes of it. I promise you. 10 minutes of it. I promise you. I think you'll find it entertaining. I even had an LSU fan going, hey, listen, just because of one of the hilarious examples you gave, I subbed. That was funny. But just go check it out. Bloody Knuckles, that may answer some questions for you. Morbo says, go USF. I'm telling you, dude. USF beating Florida historically may seem like what Florida's done in the past. This is an upset, but I don't believe it's an upset currently. I don't think that Florida's a bad team. They do have the worst schedule in college football, period. Toughest schedule. And that's what I mean, toughest. But Golesh can coach. And South Florida is much improved. And if I'm Miami right now, I'd be very careful. Andy T, go Jackets. Yeah, Clemson better keep their eyes on the Jackets. They better come out with a nice offensive game plan. And defensively, they better be tackling because Jamal Haynes and Haynes King, they could beat them. Even as a USF alumni, even if we can be competitive with Miami, I will be happy 2-1. We need to treat like we have been underdog and not back down from a higher recruited school. That's right. Rustastic, buddy, I hope you're feeling well. Thanks for being over here. South Florida brung the pride. Glad we ain't playing them at Tennessee. I'm telling you, they're much improved team. Golesh can coach. As the 4th, 5th choice for recruits to come to Florida, I'm proud of them. Yeah, and let me tell you this, Morbo. What Golesh is doing with the talent that he has, instead of sitting there going, hey, I have to play against Florida and Miami. I have to recruit against them. And he starts coming up with excuses. No, he steps back and goes, this school gave me an opportunity to coach at a high level. Even though this school is not in a big-time conference, this is still a big opportunity. And instead of whining and providing excuses and I'm going to use what I have and I'm going to get what I can get out of the portal and I'm going to win. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, Golesh can coach circles around some guys at some major schools right now. Guys that are probably even making more money than he is. And he's just besting them, showing them, hey, y'all do less with more and I do more with less. I can respect that. I don't know the guy personally. He may be terrible. But I don't know. Mr. You mad, bro? So why did Blake Herbert leave Clemson to go to Notre Dame? Is he starting there? No, CJ Carr is starting there. Mr. You mad, bro? He is one of the OGs, folks. He's been following me for a long time. It's good to see you in here, by the way. Let me see. Quickly get some more comments. Bama hasn't proven to be back just yet. Wisconsin is going to have something to say about that. This week we'll see who can stomp the loudest. Do you think Florida can dig themselves out of a hole and get themselves out again this year? I mean, here's the thing, Rustastic. For anyone who's looked at Florida's schedule, it is the toughest schedule. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. You remember the days of going on PlayStation and taking all the top teams and putting them on your schedule just so you could beat them so you could get higher ranked? Imagine that, go even tougher, and that's Florida's schedule. So it would be hard for them to fire Napier unless he's losing like 50-0. But that's going to be a tall task. I mean, this is a really tall task. Tennessee should beat them this year, in my opinion. It's later in the year. It doesn't make sense. Now, if somehow Florida comes out of this with only like 2 losses, and by the time they meet Tennessee will be in for it, is my thought, because it's that bad. Chase Henderson. Hey, buddy. There he is, the man, the legend, the myth, the legend. I messed that up. It's good to see you, pal. It is good to see you. Well, folks, I'm calling it. I've did multiple videos today. I even had to take a nap because I haven't slept in the past 2 nights. And so that's why my hair is a little messed up. But anyway, y'all take care of yourself. Listen, over on my other channel, I'm about to hit 8,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're watching this, I hope you'll go over there and subscribe. Next up, pass this channel along. It's brand new. More people are subscribing. It is free. And if you like what I'm